Welcome, students and staff, to the Experience Series, your backstage pass to the world. Today we welcome Mike Stoika, an archaeologist. Please type your questions for Mike in the chat box at any time, and we'll collect them and ask him at the end of the presentation. Mike has worked on more than 1,000 projects, and he is an expert in the excavation of historic sites, human skeletal remains, and the field identification of bones. Urban archaeology is a necessary occupation because cities used to be built right on top of unknown buried historic and cultural sites and artifacts. Using high-tech tools, Mike has been involved in the discovery and excavation of Native American burial grounds, Civil War sites, and an abandoned turn-of-the-century Chinatown. He recently worked at Joshua Tree National Park, where he helped explore abandoned mines deep in the backcountry. His rural surveying involves hiking and camping in the wilderness while cataloging remote sites. One project at Point Reyes National Seashore required exploring cliff walls above the ocean all day in a harness with rappelling gear. Mike, that's crazy. Welcome to Insight Schools.
It's nice to be here. As said, I'm Mike Stoika. I'm an archaeologist, staff archaeologist, and archaeological specialist. I work at Sonoma State University in Sonoma County, north of San Francisco. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Basically, our job varies in a lot of ways. We have to have a lot of different applied skills. We deal with going out and recording known sites. We go out and deal with locating the sensitivity for potential sites. This particular image that you're seeing right now, this is out in Joshua Tree National Park, and this is really kind of the cream of the crop in terms of what we get to deal with. Sometimes we're under a freeway overpass with a backhoe and you're not finding very much, but it's all part of the job. It's very important that you always be diligent in what you do because you just never know when you're going to find something. There's a number of different prehistoric sites that are right on the cliff's edge of this park right now. It's interesting to think if you go back significantly in time, some of these burials and these prehistoric sites are in the hundreds of years, but some of them go back as far as 4,000 to 5,000 years. So if you go back that far and you consider all the wave action, some of these sites were originally as much as a quarter to a half mile inland when they were living there. So they weren't right on the cliff's edge when these people were actually living there or burying their dead there. So there's a number of burial sites that are eroding out of the cliff faces, and pretty regularly we have to do these surveys where we walk around the base of the cliffs and examine what kind of damage has been done to burials or whether burials are being exposed, as well as finding all new sites that we never even knew about. So this site I had to hang off the edge of a cliff that was in some places 40 feet and in other places as high as 110 feet off the rocks in the ocean below and the crashing waves. So hanging off the edge of the cliff and carefully exposing burials like this and being respectful and getting them out of harm's way is a really important job. But sometimes when you're looking down at your feet and you see a bunch of elephant seals hanging out 100 feet below you, it kind of makes you think twice about it. It's kind of thrilling.
Wow. So a lot of the students are asking questions about pursuing archaeology as a career. For instance, Angie asks, how did you become an archaeologist? Wesley would like to know, similarly, how did you get that job? And Kyle asks, who technically is your employer? And MJ wants to know, are there grants involved? There's lots and lots of questions about the demand for being an archaeologist, and but what are the steps a person would take to have a job?
My employer is Sonoma State University, so I'm actually an employee of the state of California. There's actually, since cultural resource management has been going on, there is an archaeological community and there's quite a few people that do it. What I would recommend for most people is to go to school or to go ahead and do a little volunteer work with your local archaeological society or with a museum. See if it really is something that you want to get into, or whether it's just kind of a flight of fancy. It's better to go through a formal process of training with going to school for it, and then hopefully either getting your master's or your PhD at a university that either has archaeology, anthropology, cultural resource management, geology. There's all kinds of related sciences as well. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done with mapping systems or computers or chemistry or geology. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get into it. And yeah, sometimes we do apply for grants, but that's less a part of our business. If we want to do special research, or if we're working on a project that is low on funding and we want to add additional research questions, we may apply for grants. But most of the work that we do is contract-based. So we get a client, the National Park Service, or a company, a construction company that may be building a road or putting in a housing development, and they actually have to pay us to go in there and do our work as designated by law.